Hello, it's Tom Muncher, the Popcorn Muncher, and welcome once again to our YouTube channel. This week I am doing another top 5 list, and it's inspired by Journey's End, which is the new World War I drama film from Saul Dibb, who made Sweet Française a few years ago, which I wasn't that much of a fan of, but I am a fan of his new film, which features tremendous performances from the likes of Paul Bettany, Asa Butterfield, Stephen Graham, but most importantly for this list, Sam Claflin. And I'm going to take this opportunity to run down my top 5 Sam Claflin performances. He's not been with us that long as an actor. His first performance in a movie was 2010 when he was in the terrible Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides, and he then really broke out as a Finnick in the Hunger Games movies. But are those movies his best ones, or has he done more interesting work? Let's find out with my top 5.
Very nice. High five.
So in at 5 is a very recent Sam Claflin performance. It is My Cousin Rachel, where he stars alongside Rachel Weisz as the owner of an enormous property who has his cousin staying after the death of his uncle. It's suggested that Rachel might have done something to the uncle, and he soon finds himself also falling under Rachel's spell. This performance is mainly a foil to Rachel Weisz. It's very much her movie, but Claflin does really good work. It's one of those performances that we'll talk about again later on, where Claflin kind of gradually disintegrates as the movie goes on, and he's very good at playing this kind of brutish, overly macho male character who pushes out the women in his life and pushes away other people. That's a kind of persona that Claflin taps into with great potency and emotion, and that is certainly on show in My Cousin Rachel. It's a very good performance, so it's number 5.
Because we're a team now, and there's 4 of us, so we should come up with a name for it.
So at number 4, and in a completely different corner of Claflin's repertoire, is Love Rosie, which is an adorable, sweet rom-com in which Claflin and Lily Collins play really close school friends who have this sort of unsaid romantic connection between them, and because neither of them say it, it's never followed through on, and we kind of pick them up through the years as various life choices, life decisions kind of keep them apart from each other, and their romance always comes within an inch of happening but never quite does. Both Claflin and Collins are really relatable, really identifiable, and really lovable in these roles. And it's a movie that shows Claflin's comedic chops in a way that many of the other items on this list don't. He is really, really sweet in this movie. It couldn't be more opposite to some of the more loathsome characters he has played in other films in his career. It's a bit of a guilty pleasure movie for me, Love Rosie. I really enjoy it, and that's why it's on this list.
Why is it, when something happens, it is always you 3?
And number 3 is another performance from last year. It is Their Finest, in which Claflin plays a screenwriter and filmmaker during the Second World War, tasked by the British government with making propaganda movies. Gemma Arterton is brought on board to write what Claflin refers to as the slop, which is dialogue for female characters. And they actually form a really tender, creative bond, a real bond where they believe in each other's ideas and they acknowledge each other's strengths and weaknesses. And that forms for a really charming movie. Their Finest was one of the most pleasant surprises of last year, and Claflin's performance is really good, along with Arterton and Bill Nighy, who plays a hammy old actor who is also very good. It's a real kind of sweet-natured film, which is a contrast to the likes of Dunkirk and the Churchill movies we've had in the last 12 months. It's a kind of lighter way of looking at the home front of the Second World War, while also having moments of real potency, real emotional heft, and many of those are sold perfectly by Sam Claflin in what is absolutely one of his best performances.
This town isn't big enough for 2 supervillains.
At number 2, it's the reason we're all here. It is Journey's End, in which Claflin plays the captain of a company who are stationed in the trenches during the First World War in France. It really portrays the agony of waiting. The First World War as a conflict was so much about the agonising weight of sitting in the trench. We learn at the start of this film that a German attack is expected kind of any day, and their orders are basically to just tough it out for as long as they can. So these are essentially a group of people just waiting for death. And Claflin is fantastic as a man who was once kind of a bright, intelligent young man who, during the course of the war, this is set in 1918, the last year of the war, and we meet him as someone who's been ravaged by dependence on alcohol, dependence on vice, to get him through the horrors of what he's seen and the horrors of what he's expecting to see in the future. It's a real kind of dead-eyed performance from Claflin, with some of the kind of explosions of rage we expect of his best work. More on that in the next entry. But it's a really compelling performance. It's a really human performance whilst also being an inhuman performance. And that is something that Claflin brings to the film, which is otherwise bolstered by some great direction and by Laurie Rose's fantastic cinematography. Journey's End is number 2.
You were the chosen one!
And so the number 1 spot, Sam Claflin's best movie performance, is without a doubt in my mind as the horrendous posho Alistair Ryle in The Riot Club. It's a movie by Lona Scherfig, who also made Their Finest, and it's a movie I have real love for. It didn't review particularly well when it came out, but for me it's one of the best British films of the last few years. It follows an approximation of the Bullingdon Club, and is centred around one debauched dinner where they end up engaging in really horrendous antics. And Claflin's at the centre of it all, kind of geeing up his fellow club members. He has a monologue where he just absolutely spews entitled nonsense in a way that is clear he believes it, and he delivers it with such relish and such rage and such anger that it's impossible not to believe him as a character. He is truly compelling in the movie, absolutely loathsome, impossible to like, and therefore the kind of perfect depiction of the kind of sickness at the heart of the British middle and upper class. It's a tremendous film and an incredibly memorable performance from Sam Claflin. He still hasn't beaten it in his career as far as I'm concerned. If you haven't seen The Riot Club, you should definitely watch it, because for me it's a very special piece of work.
How did they get everywhere? How did they make everything so second rate? They're thinking they're better because there's more of them. It's not sweat on their palms. It's envy. It's resentment. And it stinks like a drain. I am sick to death of poor people. Yeah!
So there you have it. That's my top 5 Sam Claflin performances. We had at number 5, My Cousin Rachel. At number 4, the lovely rom-com Love, Rosie. At number 3, Their Finest. At number 2, this week's new release, Journey's End. And at number 1, the fantastic, abrasive The Riot Club. But let me know what you think. Let me know what your favourite Sam Claflin performances are, which ones I've included that don't deserve to be there, which ones I haven't included that do deserve to be there. Maybe you're the one person who really loved Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides, or Snow White and the Huntsman. If you are that person, please do let me know. And if you've enjoyed this video, please do subscribe to the channel, leave a like, leave a comment. It's all appreciated, and it all lets me know that I'm doing things you enjoy and that you want to see more of these videos. You can find more of our Popcorn Muncher related content at thepopcornmuncher.com, and if you look in the description below, there are the links to all of our social media channels where you can keep an eye on the website and what we're doing and the future videos that you can expect. But in the meantime, thank you very much for watching this video, and hopefully I've given you some new Sam Claflin movies to watch. Thank you for watching.